So, tell me what it was like at Beth Jacob Hebrew School in the 1970s.
Okay, well, the truth is, and I think most historians of the North American Jewish community will agree, that the after-school program in the conservative movement in the 1970s was unfortunately not the golden age of Jewish education. It was tough going, as you would stand at the door of the school at University Gardens and get ready to be picked up to go either Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday, or Monday, Wednesday, and Sunday. This was the big discussion at the beginning of every year. Would we be a Tuesday, Thursday year or a Monday, Wednesday year? And it was difficult. But how to put this, the shining light, the saving grace was Gloria Silverman. She made it a tremendously exciting experience. Certainly my memory as we got older, and she would teach us classes Sunday mornings and at least one night a week. And my memory is those were very, very exciting times, intellectually and educationally.
Okay, so how old were you during that period, and can you recall any particular lesson that she taught you?
Well, we had to go, I think it was, 7, 8 years old, up until bar bat mitzvah. Those were the rules. Then after that, you had your choice, and you could go every Sunday. I think my memory is I was very interested in Holocaust studies. I was very interested in that period of history. And by the time I was attending Beth Jacob Hebrew School, let's say 1974 to 76, there were still a lot of members of the community who had relatives who were survivors. So it felt very real to me. It felt very alive to me. And I was very interested in the very essential question of why. How could this happen? And I do have a memory of a Sunday morning of her trying to tackle that question and put it in the context of Jewish education. And while I'm on tape, I will fast forward to tell you the following Gloria Silverman story. 30 years later, I'm in Manhattan. I'm attending Anshe Chesed in Minyan Ma'at, and I speak to a gentleman. He says, "Where are you from?" It's at Hamilton, Ontario. And he pauses and he says, "Do you know Gloria Silverman?" I said, "Of course. I grew up with Gloria Silverman. She was one of my favorite teachers at Beth Jacob." And he went on to tell me what it was like to be a teenager in the United States when Gloria Silverman was in charge of the local youth movement. And she lived with her parents, and she had her own separate entrance to the house, and the kids would come over, and he told these magnificent stories of the ruach that would be in that house when on a Shabbat afternoon a couple kids would come over after shul. She was not Gloria Silverman then, and I apologize, I do not remember her maiden name, but he was so excited to meet somebody who years and years later, after he was a teenager, also had the real miracle of getting to study with Gloria Silverman.
The year that you're thinking about, I'm sorry, did you say how old you were that year that you were discussing those classes that you remember?
I'm guessing it had to be between 1974 and 1976, that era.
How old were you?
Well, I'm 50, so we can do the math, but we had to go to Hebrew school again, Monday, Wednesday, Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday, between, I believe it was the ages of 8 and bar bat mitzvah.
How many kids were in the school in those years?
Well, my memory is we had a lot of grades. I do remember one funny moment. For years, the only time I ever went to the Beth Jacob, or the only way I ever entered the Beth Jacob, was through the rear entrance. That's where we would be dropped off for Hebrew school or to go to shul. And I went to shul every Shabbat morning with my mother. Years later, for some reason, I can't remember why, I was dropped off at the front door of the Beth Jacob. I had no idea where I was. I had no idea there was another entrance, a magnificent entrance, a dramatic entrance to this synagogue. And I remember just laughing, thinking, I had never walked through these doors before, and this was after being there for over a decade.
So even when you came on Shabbat, you were going through the back door?
That's the way we always entered. And it was a very social scene in those days, a huge number of kids. I remember very clearly with Mark Matchin, who lived up the street, and Lee Schechter, downstairs in the chapel. It was called, informally at least, the Children's Chapel. And that's where we had children's Shabbat morning services. And a lot of great hours spent there. And also, truth be told, a lot of time spent outside playing around. If memory serves, the coat closet where we used to hang up all the coats was a very attractive place for the kids to hang out during Shabbat services.
Can you say more about what Shabbat services were like in those days in the children's services? Well, who was leading them and what was going on there?
My memory is that they were led by young adults, teenagers. We had a special prayer book. My memory is that Shabbat morning services in the early 70s were packed in the main hall, in the main synagogue, if you will. And the kids, as I recall Rabbi Silverman's reign, were not all that welcome, truth be told, my memory. And so we were encouraged to go to the children's service in that small synagogue. And I just remember having great times there. My mother would drop us off, Mrs. Matchin would drop us off, and Mark Matchin and I would spend our Shabbat mornings there, and of course, check out the Kiddush when the time was right.
Can you say, like, what did the children's service look like, and what kind of participation was there among the kids?
Well, if you can picture that small chapel, so memory serves, I'm guessing 10 to 15 kids. I don't remember a Torah service per se. I remember we had our own special Siddur. I think services lasted about an hour, maybe an hour and a half. And my memory is I don't remember a lot of participation by the kids, but I do remember a lot of singing. And I remember enjoying it. I remember having a terrific time.
Choice of going Monday and Wednesday or Tuesday and Thursday. Are you telling me that the Beth Jacob Hebrew School ran 5 days a week?
Absolutely.
Say more about that.
Okay, my memory is that, again, so it would be the beginning of the year, and you'd get a letter from the Beth Jacob saying this year, whatever grade you're in will be Monday, Wednesday, and everyone had to go on Sunday, or Tuesday, Thursday. So I have this memory as a little kid, comparing notes with the other kids, what night of the week would you be going? I also have a very strong memory of chocolate chip cookies and milk. The second you showed up, you got chocolate chip cookies and milk. Now I realize why. It was kind of to wake us up after school. But when I put on my hat, if you will, as a Jewish sociologist or historian, it's interesting for me when later I met people who started the Chavurah movement and started meeting Jews who viewed the large synagogue as the place to run away from. So, for example, today, Ellen and I, my family, belong to a very small minyan. And a lot of the people who started that minyan came of age right around this time when I was a little kid, 10, 15 years older than me. And what they were reacting to was they were reacting against places, ironically, like the Beth Jacob, I think. I think what they were saying is, no, small is good. Participatory Judaism is the goal. We don't want a large suburban institution with a rabbi and a cantor. And it's very interesting for me as I get older to understand intellectually and historically where they were coming from and the benefits of the Chavurah movement. And yet at the same time, I have very warm memories of this large suburban conservative synagogue, 1970 to 1975, doing their very best to try to educate Canadian kids in some basic elements of Judaism. And again, my memory is that Gloria Silverman was the shining star in that firmament.